Have you ever searched so hard for answers that you ended up questioning everything you once believed? Have you ever stood in the middle of two worlds, torn between faiths, only to find that the truth isn't about choosing sides, but understanding the depth of both? Today, we take a deep breath and dive into something most are afraid to even whisper: the comparison between two of the world's most sacred texts, the Bible and the Koran. And what was discovered? It wasn't division. It wasn't fear. It was something far more shocking, something transformational. Let me take you on that journey, a journey of rediscovery, a journey of revelation, a journey of truth. When you begin to genuinely compare the Bible and the Koran, not to debate, but to understand, you notice something almost immediately. There is a powerful emphasis on intention, in both texts, and not just intention in the sense of doing something right, but the heart behind the action. You realize quickly that both scriptures are not just a set of rules or stories, they are written with the aim of reshaping the posture of the human soul. That's not something you see on the surface unless you're truly paying attention. And once you do, it hits you like a wave. In the Bible, there's this clear call that God isn't just interested in what you do. He's deeply concerned about why you do it. From the very beginning, the message is about relationship, not ritual. Take the words of Jesus, for instance, when he speaks about giving, praying, or fasting, not to be seen by others, but in secret, where the Father sees your heart. That's not religion for performance, that's transformation from within. You begin to see that God doesn't want robotic obedience. He wants willing hearts, hearts that beat with authenticity, humility, and reverence. Then you open the Koran and you find that same weight placed on *niyya* intention. Every act, every prayer, every gesture of faith is rooted first in the intention behind it. Without pure intention, the act itself loses its value. It's not just about what you do, but why you do it, and that is something that mirrors exactly what you saw in the Bible. You find that sincerity isn't optional, it's foundational. You could pray 5 times a day or fast for a month, but if it's done to impress people, the act becomes hollow. That realization, that both texts elevate intention above outward performance, starts to undo everything you may have assumed about religion being about rituals alone. And here's where it gets even deeper. Both books constantly pull the reader away from self-centeredness and push them toward alignment with a higher calling, not for applause, not for attention, but because there is a divine standard that sees beyond surface-level actions. You're no longer reading texts that simply say, do this or don't do that. You're reading words that are asking you why are you doing this? Who are you becoming as you do this? And that kind of confrontation. It humbles you. You start realizing that both the Bible and the Koran aren't trying to scare you into obedience. They're trying to elevate you into spiritual awareness. They're calling you to examine the purity of your motives, to stop performing for people and start aligning with purpose. And that is not just spiritual advice. That is emotional maturity. That is soul, deep wisdom. It shakes you when you realize that faith, real faith, isn't about the loudness of your worship, but the honesty of your intention. When you set aside the noise, the debates, the stereotypes, the arguments, you begin to read both the Bible and the Koran with a different lens, a quiet lens, a lens that listens instead of trying to prove. And what you hear, almost like a whisper rising above all else, is a relentless call to compassion, not just a suggestion, not a recommendation, a command, an expectation, a cry that echoes from cover to cover, page to page. And what's shocking is how deeply that thread runs through both texts. In the Bible, compassion isn't treated like a soft, passive emotion. It's fierce, it's active. When Jesus saw the crowds, it says he was moved with compassion. Not judgment, not irritation, compassion, and he didn't just feel it. He acted on it, he healed, he fed, he touched the untouchables. His compassion wasn't reserved for the righteous or the religious. It was poured out for the broken, the rejected, the overlooked. That kind of love, that kind of intentional mercy, that's not something you can fake, that's not something you can skim past. It confronts you. It demands that if you call yourself spiritual, you better be someone who carries asterisk compassion, asterisk in your hands, in your words, in your silence. Then you turn the pages of the Koran, and again you feel it. Over and over again, the names of God begin with Amen Ar-Rahim, the most compassionate, the most merciful. That's not a coincidence. That's not just poetic language, that's foundational. It sets the tone for everything else, and the message is loud and clear. If you truly know God, you must reflect His compassion. You must carry mercy into your relationships, into your decisions, into your treatment of strangers and enemies alike. And that's the part that stuns you, because it's not weak, it's not soft, it's asterisk, powerful asterisk, it's deliberate. You begin to notice that both texts are calling for the same response from us. Feed the hungry, care for the widow, uplift the orphan, forgive the wrongdoer, not when it's convenient, not when it's deserved, but simply because that's what love does. That's what divine obedience asterisk looks asterisk like. It's not about long prayers if you're cruel to people. It's not about perfect doctrine if your heart is closed off to the suffering around you, and when you see that message repeated in both scriptures, something inside shifts. It's no longer about proving which book is right. It becomes about proving that asterisk, you're living right asterisk, that your faith isn't just theory, it's action, because compassion costs something. It interrupts your schedule. It challenges your pride, it stretches your comfort, and yet both the Bible and the Koran keep pushing you toward it like it's the very essence of what it means to walk in truth. The hard part, it exposes you. It shows you how easy it is to talk about love and how difficult it is to asterisk live asterisk it. But both books refuse to let you settle for comfort when compassion is required. When you go beyond the surface and truly sit with the scriptures, both the Bible and the Koran, you begin to notice something that most people miss in their rush to compare: the echo of divine unity, not in a watered down, all religions are the same kind of way, but in a deeper, soul-stirring realization that the core truth both books point to is the existence of asterisk one God asterisk, one creator, one source, and the more you study, the more this unity rises, not as a contradiction, but as a confirmation. That's the kind of revelation that doesn't just inform your mind, it grips your spirit. In the Bible, from the very first verse, there's no doubt about the message. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. There's no debate, no argument, just the declaration of a supreme being, outside of time, beyond human comprehension, yet intimately involved with creation. And as you read through the prophets, the Psalms, the Gospels, it becomes crystal clear: God is one. God is holy, God is sovereign, and this God desires a relationship with his people. It's not about multiple deities competing for power. It's about one divine force moving through history with purpose, justice, and love. And then you turn to the Koran, and the very heartbeat of the text is the declaration: asterisk la ilaha illallah asterisk. There is no God but God. Again, the clarity is overwhelming, no confusion, no spiritual ambiguity. One God, no partners, no equals. The emphasis on divine oneness in Islam isn't just a theological stance, it's the foundation of everything else. Every prayer, every law, every act of worship flows from this central truth. It humbles you, it centers you, it reminds you that you are not the source. You are the creation, and what shakes you is how closely this mirrors the call of the Bible. The language may differ, the structure may not be the same, but the essence. The essence is identical. Both texts pull you toward a greater awareness that there is a force higher than humanity, a creator who doesn't just demand worship, but asterisk deserves asterisk it, and that worship isn't supposed to divide, it's supposed to unite. to strip away ego, to dismantle pride, to remind us that we all come from dust, and to dust we shall return. But there is one who never changes, never fades, never dies. This realization begins to break down walls in your mind. Walls built by culture, tradition, and misunderstanding. You begin to see that the real battle is not between scriptures, it's between hearts that refuse to see how closely they already align. You see how both books point upward, not inward, how both anchor us to the reality that life is not random, not empty, not meaningless. And when you truly take that in, the shock isn't in how different the two texts are, but in how powerfully they echo the same eternal truth, that there is one God, and He is calling us back to Him. When you begin to really dive into the stories of the Bible and the Quran, you start to notice something that catches you off guard. The struggles they portray are so familiar, so human, so raw. You read about Moses in the Bible, a man who faced doubt, fear, rejection, and yet was called to lead. Then you see Musa in the Quran, walking a nearly identical path, wrestling with the weight of responsibility and the pain of being misunderstood. The names may change, but the stories, the emotions, the challenges, they mirror each other. And in that reflection, you find a deep and unexpected connection. You look at Joseph in the Bible, betrayed by his brothers, thrown into a pit, sold into slavery, forgotten in prison. And then you find Yusuf in the Quran, enduring the same trials, holding on to faith amid betrayal and hardship. These aren't just ancient stories, they're blueprints for resilience. They show you that pain is not new, that betrayal has been faced before, that despair can be overcome, and that, somehow, gives you hope. It reminds you that your struggles are not a sign that you are alone or abandoned. These stories are proof that hardship is part of the journey and victory is possible. Then there's Mary in the Bible, chosen to carry a miraculous birth, facing doubt, scandal, and uncertainty, yet trusting in God's plan. Maryam in the Quran carries that same sacred story, a young woman confronted by the impossible, yet standing firm in faith. When you see these parallels, it breaks down the idea that these texts are about separate people, separate experiences. They show you that beneath the surface, we are all connected by the same trials, the same questions, the same need for grace. What's remarkable is how both books don't sugarcoat the struggles. They don't say faith means an easy life. Instead, they highlight that faith often means walking through the fire. They show you the pain, the doubt, the loneliness, but also the redemption, the courage, the restoration. And that teaches you something powerful. Faith is not about avoiding hardship, but about finding strength through hardship. These stories remind you that the human experience, loss, love, betrayal, forgiveness, is universal. It doesn't matter which scripture you read, the emotional landscape is the same. You start to realize that these figures are not just characters from a distant past. They are mirrors holding up your own story. They remind you that struggling doesn't make you weak, it makes you human, and that your story, with all its pain and triumph, fits into something much bigger. That recognition of shared struggle, of common humanity, is what shakes you. It makes you see that faith is not a shield from life's storms, but a way to navigate through them. It teaches you that you're part of a lineage of people who faced their own battles and still chose to believe. And that, above all, is a call to keep moving forward, to keep trusting, to keep rising even when the road is hard and the night feels long. When you start paying attention to the details in both the Bible and the Quran, one thing becomes clear. Spiritual discipline isn't just a practice, it's a language. It's a way to communicate with the divine, a path to shape the heart, and a method to align the soul with something greater than yourself. You notice how both texts emphasize acts like prayer, fasting, gratitude, and obedience, not as burdens, but as tools for transformation. And that's where everything changes, because discipline suddenly isn't about restriction. It's about freedom. In the Bible, prayer is more than reciting words. It's a conversation with God. It's a lifeline when life feels overwhelming, a refuge when the world is too loud. Jesus teaches to pray with sincerity, to pray persistently, and to pray from the heart, not for show, but for connection. And fasting, it's not punishment. It's a spiritual reset, a way to humble yourself, to clear the distractions, and to refocus on what truly matters. These disciplines are invitations to live intentionally, to live awake. When you look at the Quran, you find the same rhythm. 5 daily prayers, fasting during Ramadan, acts of charity, all designed to build a spiritual muscle. The emphasis isn't on perfection, but on consistency. It's about showing up again and again, even when you don't feel like it. These acts become anchors, pulling you back when you drift, reminding you of your purpose, reminding you of the divine presence that surrounds you always. The discipline here is a dialogue between the human and the divine, a way to keep the heart steady and the soul focused. What's powerful, and often overlooked, is that both texts connect discipline with humility. Spiritual practice isn't about proving how good or righteous you are. It's about recognizing your limitations, your dependence on God, your need for grace. Discipline humbles you because it demands surrender. It asks you to say no to instant gratification and yes to a higher calling. And that tension, that struggle, is where growth happens. You begin to see that this common language of discipline isn't just about religion, it's about life. About learning how to say no to what pulls you down and yes to what lifts you up. It's about mastering yourself, not for control, but for freedom. Freedom from the chaos of distraction, from the noise of the world, from the pull of the ego. And here's the truth that hits like a punch in the chest. Both the Bible and the Quran are teaching you the same thing through their rituals and rules. They're training you to become resilient, focused, and deeply connected. They're shaping your character by inviting you into discipline that transforms. The discipline isn't the goal is transformation. The goal is a heart that beats with purpose, a soul aligned with love, a life lived with meaning. When you truly grasp that, the differences in the forms of worship fade. What remains is the undeniable power of spiritual discipline to change everything, your mindset, your relationships, your sense of peace. And that's the beginning of real freedom. When you peel back all the layers, culture, history, politics, you find something so simple yet so profound at the core of both the Bible and the Quran: love, not a superficial kind of love, not just feelings or words thrown around lightly, but a deep, radical, life-altering kind of love that demands everything from you and gives everything in return. It's a love that isn't comfortable or convenient. It's a love that challenges you to your core, shakes your foundation, and reshapes your very being. Both scriptures put love at the center of their message. The Bible says, love your neighbor as yourself. It's not a suggestion, it's a command, a call to action that echoes through every page. Jesus didn't just preach love, he lived it in the most difficult circumstances. He loved those who were rejected, those who were broken, those who were hated by society. That kind of love wasn't popular, it wasn't easy, it was costly, and it was real. It's a love that demands vulnerability, humility, and sacrifice. Flip to the Quran and you hear the same call. Love for the Creator and love for humanity aren't separate things, they're intertwined. The Quran teaches mercy, kindness, and forgiveness again and again. It reminds believers that loving others is part of loving God. It's a relationship that requires compassion, patience, and the willingness to see beyond yourself. The love described there isn't about weakness, it's about strength. The strength to forgive, to give without expecting anything in return, to seek peace when conflict feels easier. What's staggering is how both texts challenge the idea that love is just a feeling. They show that love is an action, a choice, a discipline. It's what you do when no one is watching. It's how you treat people who can't repay you. It's how you act when your heart is tired or your spirit is wounded. Love becomes the highest form of worship, the ultimate expression of faith, the force that binds communities and heals divisions, and this love doesn't discriminate. It crosses boundaries, ethnic, religious, social. It reaches out to the stranger, the outcast, the enemy. It calls you to break down walls you've built and extend grace you didn't think you had. That is the shock, the real discovery. That despite centuries of conflict and misunderstanding, the essence of both the Bible and the Koran is a love so profound it defies human limitations and calls you to live beyond fear, beyond hate, beyond division. When you embrace that love, you're not just changing your own life, you're becoming part of something greater, a movement of hearts that refuse to settle for anything less than true connection, true peace, and true justice. And that is the truth that can shake the world if only we're brave enough to live it, because love isn't just the answer, it's the way. So, what was the big discovery? That maybe, just maybe, we've been focusing on the differences for too long. That maybe the real shock isn't that these two texts contrast, but that they connect, that they both push us toward a better version of ourselves, that in a world desperate for division, both the Bible and the Koran whisper the same eternal message: you were made for more. You were made for truth. You were made for love. The question now isn't which book is better. The real question is, will you finally open your heart to see what's been there all along?